Hi, welcome. My name is Michelle, and today I'll be going over how to connect to Python, well, no, to SQL, a SQL database using Python libraries for managing relational databases. I'll be using Anaconda Navigator and then launching a Jupyter Lab. I'll be connecting to my Microsoft SQL Express database that I have here. I have a database called Wyzant, and the name of the table is salaries. Okay, so from there, I'm just going to open up a notebook in my Jupyter uh, lab. And the first thing you want to do when it comes to Python and SQL relational databases is you want to use the correct connector or library to connect to the specific databases. And Python has about, I want to say 5 or 6 Python libraries for working with relational databases. You have SQLite, which you can use for MySQL, and other databases as well. Then you have CX underscore Oracle for Oracle, PMMY SQL for MySQL as well. SQL Alchemy could be used with all databases. And there's another one called PSYCOPG2 that's used with Postgre. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right. Well, it's PGA admin. But today I'm going to be using another one called PYPYODBC. I'm not sure how you pronounce. I don't think you pronounce that in any type of way. I'm not too familiar with that one, but this is the one that works for me. The other one works for me, but this one I'm quite familiar with. I use a lot. And so the first thing you want to do is you want to import or install that library first. So I'm going to do a pip install. Notice how I have the exclamation point. Jupyter Lab requires an exclamation point when you're installing a library. Not sure if you use a command window. I don't think you need it. So I'm just going to go ahead and click run and see what that does. So I've used this quite a bit. So it says required already satisfied. Requirement already satisfied. So it's already installed. So I'm going to go ahead and put a hashtag here because it's already installed. Okay, after that, I'm going to go in here and put in import my libraries, give them an alias. The library that I'll be using to connect to my Microsoft SQL Express database is PYPYODBC. I'm going to give it a nickname of, a nickname, an alias of ODBC, and then also import pandas because I'm going to use a data frame from pandas to structure the data that I pull from SQL. All right, so let's go ahead and run that. And you don't have to run it line by line, but just because it's a demonstration, I like to do it that way. It's up to you. And I also like to run line by line so I can know where the error started. Sometimes Python, even though they give you error codes or lines where your error is, sometimes it's very hard to decipher. Okay, and here I'm going to create a few variables to prepare myself to construct my connection string. And the first thing I'm going to need is my driver, which like I mentioned before, I'm going to be using SQL Server. This is the name of my database. Then, I mean, not the name of my database, the name of my server. And then I have the name of my database, which is Wyzant. Okay, I'm also going to do the connection string, create the connection string here. Here's how I create the connection string. I create another variable connection string, and I put it in this order. So you have the driver, the server, the database, and the trust connection of yes. Okay. After that, I'm going to go ahead and create another variable called con, and then use the alias, which is bringing in the SQL library, because within that SQL library, you have multiple functions. Within that library, you have a few functions like SQLite, a few functions like connect, cursor, execute, and fetch all functions that can be used with all or 5 or 6 rational Python library rational databases. So I'm going to be using all of them. So in this one, we're going to start off with connect because you have to connect to the server first before you can run any queries. And so I'm going to do, I'm using this connection string. The ODBC is this library right here. I'm using the function connect, and I'm going to run that. No issues? Good. Let's see what that string actually looks like once it's all typed out. Let's see what Python is seeing when it runs the string. This is the string. So it's bringing in everything that I put in, and it's running it, and it's good. Let's see if we could also print the con, which is the connection. See what that actually looks like as well. Okay, it's just a connection. All right, cool. So everything looks good so far. There's no errors. All right, let's go ahead and create a cursor so we can run our first query. And like I said, I'm going to be querying from my salaries table from my Wyzant database. There's no need to put in the database name right here. Again, like here, because we already told the connection that this is the database that we're connecting to. So we can just go ahead and run this like that. So I'm going to create another variable here called records. Once my data is executed, I'm going to fetch it all from the execute, and then I'm going to ahead and I'm going to print it. All right, let's go ahead and run that. So it gave us a list, which is how Python reads its data. And that's why we brought in the pandas library so we could get that data frame so we can see an actual table and not a list. Okay, so let's go ahead and create another variable here equals PD, which is pandas. And from the pandas library, we're going to use the data frame function, and then we're going to put that same records in there, records variable. And then we're going to go ahead and print it one more time so we can see the difference. So this is our first one. The first line is what it looks like when we run it without the data frame, just using only the MySQL, well, the SQL, the PyPyODBC library. Once we use a data frame from pandas, that same record, we're able to print it into a more structural, convenient, easier on the eyes to decipher what the actual data looks like. And then we have a few indexes here. Notice how we don't have a header. So the only way I know how to actually see the header, you know, be easy on me here. I'm not the best at Python. I know the basics. I only know enough just so I can get to my databases. So what I would do here in this scenario, I would do another query, do another function here, call it query or whatever you want to call it. Add that same query that I was using before, and then do another variable here. Oops. From pandas, from the pandas library, I'm going to use a function called read underscore SQL. It's going to grab my query, and I'm going to do a connection, use my connection from above that we already used, and then also do a df.head to get that header that we want to see. And let's go ahead and run that one more time. So now I have three scenarios. I have the first scenario where I just use the SQL library to actually fetch all the data and just print it and put it into a list. Then I also use, but then the second scenario is me using the data frame from that same SQL scenario. And it didn't give me the header, but it kind of listed it in the way I liked it. But then I went ahead and did it another way using that same query, but using another function called read underscore SQL, and then add another function to that data frame, to that function, and call it, which is head, to get the header. And now I have the header, which came from my query, because I selected top 10 companies from my salaries table. All right, let's go ahead and only run, notice how it only gave me 4, maybe because it's not long enough, but let's go ahead and maybe not print these, see if we could get everything that we need. We just run the last one. It still only gave me, I don't know, it only gave me, I think it's not long enough. Maybe that's why. But let's go ahead and try something else. Let's go ahead and actually put that data in a file. Okay, so I'm going to say df, which is my same data function I was using, my data frame. I'm going to put this output into a file. So I'm going to use another function called CSV. I'm going to put my folder here. I'm going to do a comma separated. I don't want any indexes. Okay, and let's go ahead and run that, see what it looks like. All right, I'm going to open up my folder, see if it was created. And it was, so let's see what that file looks like. Open with a notepad. Okay, even though I said it was comma delimited, there's only one column, so there's no need to do a comma. Well, let's try that again though. Let's do, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I mean, yeah, so it's 11 rows, company, including 11 rows, including the column. Let's go ahead and try that a different way. And also let's notice how I have the index as false, because I didn't want to see that 1, 2, 3 situation. So let's go ahead and put that back in there. Let's put true so we can see the index and have a number of records that we want. I'm going to add another column so we can see the actual comma. Let's go ahead and add title. Actually, let's do more than one column, title, and maybe location. And so query, let's go ahead and run that one more time. True, oh, we probably don't need true. Let's go ahead and let's do this anyways. Okay, cool, let's grab that data. So it was updated. And let's see, open, oops. Oh, yep, there it is, comma delimited. Put it in a notepad, and it's comma delimited. So, and this is why I said false at the beginning, because I didn't want to see the index. There's no reason for the index, but here it is. I wonder if there's a way that we could do like index, so you could add a column. Maybe not. So this is it. It looks good. This is the data. So one column here, the company, the title, and then the location. Looks good. Don't save. Notice how I never deleted the file. I just reran it and it just overwrited it. So that's a good tip to know that that's what this does. I think there's like more um, variables or parameters. I'm sorry, parameters to these functions, but that'll be another time, another video. Thank you for watching. Bye.